Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next installment of There's a Will. We know you've been waiting for it with bated breath. Well, maybe not bated, but I hope you're still breathing. We are continuing the show. The studio still exists, and it's my show. Here's Adrian Kubicki with me. He is the spokesperson for LOT Polish Airlines, and he is a man who travels all around the world and does many fascinating things, I would say. That's why you're here, to tell us fascinating things.
Hello, Will. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
It's supposed to be fun.
What?
It's supposed to be entertaining, our discussion right now.
Yes, it's supposed to be fun, so I hope you can juggle.
Okay.
Or do some mime, because mime is my favorite thing. People just...
I actually do play piano, but I don't see any piano here in the studio.
You play piano?
So.
Well, you could just hum, maybe. I don't know.
Slightly different. I shouldn't sing, actually. Playing piano and singing is a different animal.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Just leave it.
But
stay with the discussion.
Did this help you get your job?
Well, always helping, because see, the playing piano, generally being involved in any sort of art thing, is actually helping in communication, because it's a way of communicating with people. So it's probably made me more gentle, more polite.
So? You were a fierce child before you learned piano, chasing all the other kids with sticks and stones?
But it gives you this sort of sense of, I don't know, other people. This willing of entertaining people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just helping a lot.
Well, you're used to performing.
Yeah, and after all, it gives you this helps you to get rid of the stage fright. So it just, in a way, it's always good to have some contact with the instrument.
Stage fright. Now, is that when you're afraid of seeing a stagecoach?
I actually never had that, but I started learning piano when I was 7 years old, so I don't really remember. I mean,
so you had a mean family.
I feel like I was born on a stage.
You had a mean family. You were born. Your parents said, "Get out there and perform."
Well, I wanted to sometimes play a ball or go to play with other kids. Mm-hmm. When I was a young child, but my mother never forced me to play piano. Actually,
God, it sounds like Oliver Twist.
So she said, if you wanna go out, just go out. If you wanna drop the instrument, that's fine, fair enough. And I said, okay, then I'm just stopping it right now, and no more piano. Okay. But then I went to my room, think a little bit of what just happened, and usually came back and saying, you know, maybe I'll just give it another try. So
you have persistence,
sort of
a kind, even from a young age. You
started early.
You were persistent. No one could stop you.
Yeah.
And now you've risen to the heights of being a guy who talks for a living.
Right.
Yeah. And
perform for a living too. Because
and perform. You perform for... You mean the talking is performing when you're out there?
Of course, it's not just the words you say. But
what is it? You just came back from Los Angeles, and LOT received an award. You just... we were talking about that before. Tell us about that.
The best airline in Europe. What? Granted by actually readers of one of the most popular travel magazines in the U.S., Global Traveler.
Holy smoke, kids! That's pretty good, don't you think? Yeah.
For second consecutive year. Mm-hmm. Quite accomplishment, because this is the survey, which is not granted by any publishing house or people who try to judge which airline is better than the other. It's actually granted by readers, so people who travel, frequent travelers. This is probably the most valuable prize that any airline can get. What is really good for us, that we're starting to be recognized as the airline of Central and Eastern Europe, and the major, actually, we reached out to the Premier League of European carriers, European airlines. We are recognized among other big airlines. Maybe this is not surprising here in Poland, but you have to understand, United States of America, population of what, like 150 million?
No, the population of the United States is about 340 million.
340 million.
Yeah.
Many airlines flying to the US, most of them much larger than a lot of Polish airlines, so it's not easy actually to build awareness. And this is something what we are accomplishing. Maybe we are not there yet, but the more awards we receive, it shows that we are doing a good job. And after all, it was, of course, a chance to take advantage of slightly better weather than we have right now in Poland.
Yeah, it's December, it's freezing. And,
in Poland, whereas
and it's dark.
It never rains in California. So
it never rains in Southern California. But man, it pours, as the old song says. There's an old song. Do you know that song?
I do.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. We could sing it, but you don't know it, so we won't. And we'll also.
So coming back to the music,
we don't want people to write in.
We don't.
You know, to troll us underneath the. Go ahead. Yes.
Do you want me to start?
You were talking.
Intonate and then I will follow.
You were talking about playing. Yeah. You're saying you were going to play. No. You still play the piano?
I do.
You do.
As a matter of fact, I do. I bought recently the instrument, the proper instrument, because for a while I didn't have it in my house. It's of course not very handy.
Yeah.
But I decided to have the contact with the instrument because you have to keep it up, basically. It's actually pretty physical activity, so to speak.
Especially if you carry it.
I mean,
the piano, if you carry
actually playing.
Oh, you mean playing?
You would be surprised that
I wouldn't be surprised. I'm a bit of a musician myself and performer.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've forgotten about that.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be too surprised. But I would be surprised if you were carrying your piano and playing it.
You're not playing piano, right? You're playing more of
a little keyboards, but let's not get too excited.
Okay.
No Chopin.
So shall we set up some jam session? Next show?
Sure. We'll set up a jam session. I'll bring in the boys.
Okay.
We can do. I was listening last night I was listening to, I like the classic rock. I don't know. I have a problem with that. And they're trying to help me, but they can't stop, me listening to classic rock. And I got into a Foghat thing last night. You remember Foghat? You know Foghat? I'm a fool for the city and, Slow Ride and all those things. And I've forgotten how great that band is. Nobody plays guitar anymore.
True, which is a shame.
It's a big shame and they had really great sound and the great Rod, what's his name? Rod. And anyway, the guy was the great slide guitar player. Even Eric Clapton would say, "Good Lord, that man can play a slide."
That's good.
What's his name? Rod. I forgot right now.
Yeah, I can't recall them.
Yeah. Anyway, but I got caught up and I was listening to all that because I like to listen to the music. And I like the new stuff too. No, I don't. Not much.
So you're abusing old rock music?
Yeah. It's terrible. It's like a drug for me. It's a horrible thing. But
could have been worse, I think.
It could be worse. No, I like the old 60s, 70s, 80s, even the 90s. But something happened.
What happened?
Something happened to the music. What happened to the music? No answer.
This is what all generations say.
Is that what everybody says?
Every generation has.
That's what they said in the 50s after when there was no more Glenn Miller Orchestra.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Listen, the first time I ever traveled to Poland was on an aeroplane. I think it was a lot flight actually, from London. I believe it was. I've been on a lot of those since then.
That was a long time ago, right?
It was back before the war. Which war, they say? Which war?
It had to be lot.
The Korean, not the Korean War. The Civil War, the American Civil War. What?
It had to be LOT, actually, or British Airways.
I think it was, it was either LOT or British Airways, but I believe it was LOT because I was surprised to be surrounded for the first time by people speaking Polish. But anyway, landed at the beautiful old airport because I was living in London.
The pink one.
What?
Was it the pink one with the pink roof, with the pink rooftop?
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was very optimistic. No, it wasn't. It was horrible. But
well, exotic, I guess.
It was exotic. Yeah. Well, since then, because I was new to a lot of big-time travel to destinations. But since then, I've been to a lot of weird places, whose airports are very surprising. But my point is this: I wanted to say that the next time I came on the train. Because that was something that you wouldn't do.
From?
And I wrote a story about it. What?
Where was it from?
Also from London. I came from London
on the train. From London. Oh my God!
But you get to see the changing countryside.
That's
so
true.
The big difference between plane travel and train travel, it seems to me. Bear with me, please. You may not agree. No, the big thing to me about plane travel and train travel is that when you get in the plane and you just appear somewhere, as if by magic almost. You go into this cylinder.
Oh, like a time machine.
Yeah, it's like a time machine, exactly. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
No wonder you're so good at your job.
Always here to help.
I think they're going to keep you on for a while. That wasn't, can help me too. So you have, you appear in the time machine and go from one place to the next. But with a train, you really get a sense, maybe on a ship even more, but with the train, you get a real sense of the time it takes to go somewhere and covering ground, So.
Well, so we're starting more of a philosophical discussion, but that's actually right. All this jet lag thing comes from the fact that you are actually traveling faster than sun. And this actually changes totally perception of what is the proximity of what is the distance, like actually proper distance from one place to another. But for me, to be honest, distance is never about like a proper distance measured in kilometers or miles. Distance is in cultures, in a climate. And remember that as much as you can, I mean, I wouldn't recommend that for anyone anymore, but you can travel probably from London to Poland.
On the train?
On a train or
People
on a
do it
bus.
on the bus. I couldn't do that.
It takes many hours.
Bus, terrible. Bus is terrible.
Look, within
you can't walk around. Train, you
within
can.
the same time, you can probably circle the globe by an airplane. Okay?
At least go halfway.
My record for traveling is actually I took my wife on our honeymoon on the around the world trip, and it took us, because I only can take very short holidays. It took us, to be exact, 11 days to visit Japan, Hawaii, San Francisco, and then London.
Okay, so you started from Warsaw.
11 hours. 11 days.
11 days, and you went from Warsaw there.
And funny experience.
So it's faster than a bicycle, that's what you're telling us.
Pretty much. Yeah. Well, this funny experience is then when you fly from Japan to Hawaii, you cross this, I don't know the proper English name, but this international time change.
International date line.
Date line, correct. Yeah. So we departed.
One for us, kids.
we departed on Friday at 6 p.m. and landed the same Friday 6 a.m.
Oh, okay.
So we saved us some time.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never done that around the world flight. I'd love to do that. Yeah. I think that would be.
So this is what the airlines bring to lives now. The places which are very distant from our homes, from our work, can be reached within a couple of hours.
It's a miracle, the flight. We get very annoyed.
And because you're going very high up in the sky, particularly when you're flying through the night on like red-eye flight, you don't see how the landscape is changing underneath.
Well, you're so high up you can't see it.
So you take off in one spot, like when in one world, and land in some entirely different one. Like I did last time, I took off from Warsaw, which was cloudy and cold, and land in sunny and warm California, with the palm trees and everything.
It is bizarre, isn't it, when you go in the winter from northern Europe or northern part of the United States or from Canada.
But you have to watch out yourself. It's very easy to get cold. And
to get a cold? You mean to get the sneezes or something? Yeah. Because of because you have the same air circulating, and
that was before I started working with lot. For the first time, I went on the winter holidays to some place which is warmer. It was Dubai, and I was so overwhelmed with this weather that I decided to take off all my clothes, like basically run like in the middle of summer. And sadly, guess what? Like next day, and from the next day onward, I spent lying in bed with high fever. So
yeah, you have to be careful. But there's nothing like it. I mean, it's really nice to go from, say, here to India, or from here to the Caribbean in the winter. Or to where some new lot flights are going.
As a matter of fact, we have a very extended cooperation with tour operators in Poland. We started a few years ago winter charter programs. We don't have regular flights to these exotic destinations, except Singapore and maybe Los Angeles. You can count as one.
I've got a bit of a cold myself.
Well, this is the season, so it's actually proper time to have one.
Fighting those microbes.
You should, because the holiday is coming, the Christmas is coming, so...
Yeah, you don't want to show up at home and make everybody sick.
And you don't want to spend it in bed either, so it's better...
Although I could watch more college football.
Relax.
Which is my big thing. Yeah, I love to watch.
Right. So you have this charter program flying to many places in the world, exotic places like Africa, Kenya, Caribbean, many places in Caribbean, Thailand, you name it. And that's pretty.
Well, it's an escape valve from the winter. But I have good news. You may not have thought about this, but I've got good news for you.
Okay.
You know what it is? You want to hear it?
Can't wait.
You want to hear it? Okay. What's Friday? What's the date? 21st.
That's right.
What happens on the 21st of December? What happens? Think about it. I know the answer.
Tricky question.
Don't say anything. You don't know?
It's just 3 days before the Christmas Eve.
It's 3 days before. 3 days before Christmas Eve. That's right. Yeah, you got the answer. No, you didn't. That's wrong. I mean, that's right, but that's not the answer. Okay, look.
So the thing is that...
the days start getting longer because it is the winter solstice. Now, my researcher prepared that information for me because I had no idea.
Is it on the 21st and 22nd?
I don't know, because it moves a little bit. It could be the 20th, 21st, 22nd. It moves a little bit, depending on if you have a year that leaps.
So what you mean is that there is a hope?
No, because every day the light is getting longer from Friday, so we should be very happy and very excited. I am. I know I am. I will be shouting in the streets later, maybe a little dancing. I'm not sure. I was thinking that when I was, before the show, I was thinking, when I was a kid, I wanted to go on the train because the freight train would come by. You know how it is in those songs, those country songs? The freight train would come by, and my hound dog would howl, and all of those things. And there'd be a Merle Haggard song on the radio. I get lonesome for a train. But, and they don't really have that many passenger trains in the United States. But in Europe, it's a normal thing, the passenger train.
Yeah.
And we find that exotic as Americans.
You just have to look at it's probably a matter of the size of the country, of the U.S. territory and Europe's territory. You probably don't take that much of a like cross-country. Cross-country you take in Poland in many different countries, but if we speak international train travels, it's not very popular. You have some connections. I don't want to be a spokesperson for Polish rail companies.
No, we're just having a conversation. It's not. I'm not going to tell them.
You have some connections. You have some connections.
We're allowed to say what we want.
To Prague, to Vienna, to some European capitals which are relatively close to Warsaw, close to Poland, but not that far. You probably wouldn't take a train to go to Portugal, for instance.
Why not?
You could, but
why not? You don't like trains, do you?
Or I'm a plain person.
You really are a plain person. Quite plain, I'm discovering.
Unless Orient Express, for instance,
yes.
to go to Turkey or somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the luxury train travel is something,
Or one of my dreams is to take Trans-Siberian.
I was about to say that. Yeah, me too.
That must be exotic. I know people who took it. I don't know if that exotic still.
Kapuscinski wrote a book in which part of it he's on that train. Yeah, he wrote a big book about Russia, didn't he? Have you read it? I haven't read it.
No.
I've read most of his books, not that one. Yeah. I would love to do this one as well. So, I mean, those are the big, long, exotic journeys.
The famous train.
But why not Portugal? No, I'm just kidding. No, Portugal is much better to do the time machine. You're in Warsaw. And
4 hours,
and then you're in Portugal, and palm trees are waving.
Absolutely.
Or Gibraltar.
Or
see the monkeys. Malaga.
There you go.
All of that would be great. But the other thing, the other thing about the train is, you see, and you take it for granted that you've got trains. Oh, I know what I want to say. The reason there are no trains in the United States anymore, except for freight, or very few trains. There are. You can still take a train across the whole country.
Even so, when I was now in California, I took a car and went to Santa Barbara, which is about 3 hours drive from Los Angeles, and I saw some trains.
Yeah, they have them on the coast. That's right. When I go to Washington, it's very convenient to take a train to New York or take a train to where I live, Williamsburg. That's my home, and which is a couple hours south of Washington. And there's a train stops right there. Stops in Richmond, stops in Williamsburg.
Yeah, and the train from New York to D.C. or to Philadelphia.
It goes through all those, goes up to Boston, and I think even one of them goes up to Maine. But so on the coast we have it, and we do have cross-country trains, which are very nice. But the reason we don't have this big train travel is because after World War II, when before World War II, the train travel was huge because people didn't have cars. I mean, they had cars, but not like they did after the war. So,
and they didn't have that many of the airplanes.
They didn't have that many airplanes.
And the airlines were sort of flying on an airplane was a luxurious product.
It was a big luxury, even into the 60s and 70s to some extent, on some of the airlines. Everybody would dress up, You wanted to be elegant when you went.
Right, a glass of champagne.
You get a glass of champagne on the TWA or the Pan Am.
I still like to wear nicely when I'm on a plane.
Does it make a difference if you dress? I think it does. I always wear a jacket like this or something and a regular shirt, something like this.
Counting for a free upgrade.
I don't. I mean, I'm always hoping. I'm always hoping that I might get an upgrade. I rarely do. I really do. I think I'm not wearing the right combination.
Are you loyal?
You have to be more. I usually. I fly with mostly British Airways. Yeah.
What am I doing here?
No, but I do. But I used to fly with. I fly on lot sometimes. Yeah, I flew on lot to Frankfurt not long ago. And
so see, that's the thing. The thing is to stick
Kiev.
with the airline, or at least the airline alliances.
Right. I know. Yeah, it's true.
There was actually this film, this movie, Up in the Air.
Let's talk after the show and make a deal. What do you think?
Can't promise.
I know.
Many services are watching, so we cannot really.
We'll all be writing in trying to get this guy to help us. It's no good. Yeah.
No, the truth is that the success of LOT is the success of our commercial approach.
Yeah.
So we have to think of not only of carrying this mission, which is very important to us, but also to work on profitability.
Well, I mean, if people like the airline and vote you...
Well, pretty good. We must be getting better.
Vote for you, then it must be okay. Yeah, and then that'll make you more profitable, won't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the more flights you get. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. I had to finish the thing because they're going to go, what the heck was up with the trains? So after World War II, then they built the interstate, the roadways all across the United States. That was Eisenhower's in the 50s. And that killed the trains. Because really the roads were built so you could move military equipment in an emergency from coast to coast, north to south. And Eisenhower's idea. But once they had the thing built, people said, oh, I can just drive my car. I don't need to take the train. And it's much more convenient. And it is sometimes more convenient. You can stop where you want.
What is going to happen next?
What do you
Because the
think?
infrastructure, the crowd, the traffic on the U.S. freeways.
Well, there's a lot of problems. We have
then
three.
The condition of the roads.
Yeah. We have the roads in Poland. I've said this before. The roads in many times. That's to anybody who'll listen. But the roads in Poland are much better than they are.
I think we had this discussion about the infrastructure condition in the U.S., which is not that good. I mean, the coverage. I mean, the number of highways and the airports and so-called connectivity by all means of transportation. It's much broader, much wider, much more complex than in Poland. But the quality of the infrastructure actually is probably better here.
It is better, I can tell you, because I drive on those roads whenever I'm in the States, usually in the South, but not always. Sometimes at Washington, even New York. So I find that a lot of the roads are under construction. A lot of them they're in bad shape. Also, we have a problem with our bridges. I hate to bring that up because neither one of us is a bridge expert, but
I'm not a train expert either, but
and apparently pipes. But you know, you're not a train expert. No, but we're just talking. You know, it's about transportation.
Of course,
everything doesn't have to be non-stop airplanes, for goodness sake. What about space travel?
This is probably coming next.
Do you believe in UFOs? I need to get that. I was told by my producer to ask you that question.
Not by what you probably
and I always do what she tells me. Yeah.
Of course. No, I don't believe in that. However, we must think, and this is pretty fair judgment, that if we have a planet, there might be a similar planet somewhere else in the universe, and other forms of lives can live somewhere in space. Not necessarily the UFO you mean.
Well, I mean, UFO is just an unidentified object, but flying object. But
it's actually a different question if you believe in UFO
aliens,
and like aliens or like other forms of life in the universe.
In the universe, yeah.
We see the progress, but to be very honest, I don't think that we're going to see some tremendous achievements within our lives.
In this area.
So if you think of like sending someone to I don't know, Mars, or start to build some colony on the moon, it's probably not going to happen that soon.
This is what Elon Musk wants to do. He said that he wants to.
He dreams big, and it brings you know the biggest value of exploring space is actually the technology which is then brought back to the Earth, and it's actually serving us on our daily lives on the daily basis.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest advantage of the exploring space, not necessarily moving out of Earth and moving to the somewhere in the space to the moon or Mars or wherever, but this is this technology that can be tested and then brought back to the Earth.
Absolutely, because all the big breakthroughs in military and space technology have led to. I mean, no Steve Jobs, no Bill Gates without these things.
Absolutely, implemented to our daily lives.
Yeah, all those scientists who discovered all these things, they go, hey, what about me? I discovered that, not Steve Jobs. And he's walking around with his turtleneck.
Life is unfair, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Life is unfair. Well, they told you that when you were at school, didn't they? When you were playing the piano. Yeah, they told you that. Well, I guess, we got to wrap up now. You and I could talk, For hours. We have done. We have done. We've talked
many
for hours before.
Many hours.
And it's always a great pleasure. Adrian, thanks for coming in.
It's all mine. Thank you very much.
And,
thank you for having me.
yeah,
I hope it was fun and entertaining, at least a little bit.
We hope it was fun and entertaining. I'm going to echo Adrian here. Please watch the show. If you like it, push a button or whatever you have to do. Do a thumbs up and stay with Poland Daily. There's a Will. That's me. There's an Adrian. That's him. Goodbye from both of us. And have a great day and a great week.